surrounding area. Stream the winner 965.com to get in the game.
You're listening to The Morning Show on the Big 1520 across Central Illinois. WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence, and my guest on the phone this morning is Tony Kirkman, Executive Director of the Piatt County Mental Health Center. Tony, good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Seth. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for asking, and thanks for coming on the program with us as always. And Tony, let's start out our discussion here this morning as we head into a new year. Of course, New Year's resolutions are, lists are started, or perhaps, as folks get into the Christmas holiday and maybe they've got some time off next week, they'll dedicate some time to thinking about what's ahead for them in 2022. And perhaps among the things that might be on someone's radar going into a new year is to be more mindful of their mental, emotional wellness, and to, be more, aware of what they need for themselves. And as someone, maybe embarks on that journey, Tony, perhaps they put that on their to-do list for 2022. But they don't know where to start, or they don't know perhaps how to go about accomplishing that. What are some, kind of basic 10,000-foot view things they can do? And maybe we'll dive in from there. How about that, Tony?
Sure. So I guess probably the very first thing would be, I would, maybe not popular, I would say turn off your social media. The problem is that sadly, while that is supposed to be used for a good opportunity to share some of our achievements and possibly even some of our social relations. What I have found in my own experience and from those that I've chatted with is that sadly, many individuals use that as a barometer of whether or not they themselves are successful. So I think that we should all look at the race that's marked out for us, I saw something online that was really, really nice. It said, I'm not competing with you. I am just trying to be a better person than I was last year. So my competition isn't against you. It's against myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think, the old African proverb is, how do you eat an elephant? You eat it one bite at a time. It's set small goals for larger goals. That way that they're obtainable. And, while it should be common knowledge, I just want to tell your listeners that they are all worth it, to put in the hard work, to set along some time. I regularly, when I interact with people, I tell them no is a very, very healthy answer. It seems like we feel guilty or bad about telling people no or canceling appointments. And I think healthy boundaries help healthy people.
Mm-hmm. Sure. The social media piece I thought was a great piece of advice there, Tony. Why, what about social media can be so, give us so many, challenges, maybe misconceptions about ourselves or reality in our minds? I mean, what about social media, creates this mindset that perhaps, we have to compete with other people? What about that?
Well, I think that it leans into some of our social desire for kind of ranking ourselves of where we're at. I heard one person say, what is the dollar amount on your paycheck that you would be satisfied with? And the number one answer is more. So no matter where you get, you're always going to want more. And so for me, social media is people's highlight reel.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best of the best. So, I'm in Chicago at the fanciest restaurant looking out of downtown Chicago, dressed to the nines. And I'm watching you while I'm in my sweats eating a TV dinner. I think just being the best version of yourself that you can be is healthy, because the reality is nobody puts their failures up on social media saying, hey, look, I yelled at my kids. My house is blown up, and it's December 21st, and I have a third of my people that I've done Christmas shopping for, and I'm going to hit up Walgreens on Christmas Eve. Like, nobody says that, but
Mm-hmm.
the reality is if we can bring down the stigma of it's okay not to be okay, and we need each other, but instead we compete against each other. And I just think just as a population, that's what divides us. I should be able to say, back in the day, we used to be able to go over to our neighbor's house and say, you got a cup of sugar? Can I have, borrow that? Need was more healthily expressed. I don't even know if healthily is a word. Probably isn't. See, so I'm a mess already. But I just think that we used to be okay saying that we were incomplete. And that was the beauty of society, is we took care of each other.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah. Great starting points. Definitely. Tony, taking time for yourself, let's say you get off of social media, or you cut back on how much you're on it, those sorts of things, taking time for yourself, it feels like, and I can relate to this in my own life, all of a sudden, I've got basketball that's back. I'm doing that 3 to 4 times a week, trying to, fit in workouts and stay healthy, and, try to, get to all these places where people need me and be with friends and family and all of that. It's a tough balance to strike. And it feels like all of a sudden, all of that is back at once for everybody. How about taking time out for ourselves? Can you speak to that component a little bit?
Absolutely. Whenever I am in therapy, I sometimes refer back to those instructions of whenever you're flying on an airplane and the airline representatives say, in the event that the plane loses pressure, masks will fall from the ceiling, and your first instruction is to put the mask upon yourself before you put it upon your loved ones. And it's the reality is you can't save anyone dead. And that's where it comes out for good mental wellness too, is so many times we think that, it's selfish for us to worry about ourselves, but self-care is not selfish. It is self-sustaining, and you can't care for other people when you're completely poured out. So yes, saying no, canceling appointments, going on a walk, doing things for you, even shopping for yourself, is you are worth it. And that is one of the things that I would just want to tell people is you have value, you have purpose, and you deserve self-care.
Mm-hmm. Sure. What are some things, Tony, as we can, again, Tony Kirkman is the executive director of the Piatt County Mental Health Center. He's our guest on the phone here for this morning. As we consider, self-care and trying to find time for us, Tony, you mentioned no is a very healthy answer and those sorts of things. For a lot of folks, taking that first step of turning down, maybe a family member, a friend, a work commitment that we're being asked of, that's tough. That is really, really tough. How do you overcome that mental block? Because I think of that for myself. Like, I could see that easily being something you feel so, I don't know, obligated. You want to be there for people when they're in need, or, those sorts of things. Like, how do you overcome that, I guess?
Yeah, I think that I love the word of interdependence. It's while we are connected, I am still self-autonomous. And so I think you're exactly right, is our country has a state of codependency where I feel obligated to take care of other people. And I don't think that by itself is healthy. I do think that societally we should be looking out for each other's needs, but they say like a rising tide rises all ships. We should all be throwing into that. I would say from a behavioral health standpoint, is realize that 40% of all of your daily activities are composed of habits. And so the old adage was that it takes 21 days to establish a habit. That is actually not true. There's a lot of research that says it actually takes an average of 66 days repetitively for a new behavior to become automatic. And so set those goals a lot lower, things that are obtainable, small goals. I found that it was interesting that, I don't know where they came up with the research, but they said that January 16th is the date where the most people went back on their New Year's resolution. I don't know what that is, but I would say exercise, do healthy activities that are self-sustaining, that are self-enriching. Personally, I'm doing a lot of research right now on healthy gut health, because it's interesting that there's a lot of research on if we don't have a healthy gut health, that actually will go into negative mental health issues. And so I'm looking at what I'm eating. I'm trying to, take some probiotics. And I'm noticing a change within that too. So I think, your socialization, your nutrition, your exercise, choosing what is toxic and what isn't. I mean, those are, maybe you need to do a self-inventory of when I do this or when I'm around this person, I feel better or I feel worse. And realize maybe you need to go on a diet on some of those things.
One thing that's I'm kind of doing a Google search. I like to, as we talk, Tony, I like to, look up some of the things we're talking about on Google and find what the common, practices are for better mental health, or, I know you and I have come up with topics in the past based on, June is X whatever month, because every month has something and every day has something and all those things. But I'm looking at, I really like, I cook at home a lot. I really like the Pioneer Woman, and I'm looking at her website. She's got a lot of things to do that, you do for other people, but it makes you feel good at the same time. And it's simple things like, send a complimentary text every day. Take a social media break, practice saying no or on these things, send cards, start a journal, expressing yourself in those ways. I feel like those are some really healthy options. What do you have to say to some of those things?
Oh, I agree 100%. There's a lot of research that shows that social reciprocity increases behavioral health or mental health wellness. I think one of the things that my wife does, which is very interesting, is she actually has downloaded a couple of years ago a gratitude app. And throughout the day, she'll just take a few pictures of, family or events, or maybe just being out in nature. And the app itself, it's called Happy Feed, will show you in a couple weeks or months later of, hey, this is something that you were thankful for. And it's a nice reflection. In the world of where we see all of our have-nots, it reminds you of all the things that you have to be thankful for. And so I agree with you 100%. It's so much better to give than to receive. And statistically, it can be proven.
Sure. Well, Tony, anything on, just better mental, emotional wellness in 2022 that we haven't touched on, perhaps that we could just quickly mention? How about those things?
I would say probably to your listeners, this is, I also have done a lot of reading with a social worker from Texas Christian University. Her name is Brene Brown, and she talked a lot about the shame cycle. And she has a piece, a phrase that I love to go back to, and it says, talk to yourself like you would someone you love. And I think that's important, is, are you kind to yourself? Because you deserve it and you're worth it.
Sure. Great advice, Tony. Great advice for sure. Great conversation. We could probably spend another segment and then another segment or show on this as well. Perhaps we should do that sometime. But for the time being, Tony, we need a break. Let's do that. Come back with some more. Tony Kirkman is the executive director of the Piatt County Mental Health Center, my guest on the phone. We've got more with him on the way on the WHOW Morning Show.
MR Systems Wireless has an immediate opening. They're looking for a full-time internet installer to perform the initial setup of wireless internet and voice over IP services, as well as troubleshoot and repair wireless and phone services for customers. You'll be responsible for the basic installation and maintenance of wireless equipment. No experience necessary. Includes health benefits, mileage reimbursed. Starting pay is $15 an hour. Find out more and apply by going to mrsystemswireless.com, then clicking About, then Employment. Equal opportunity employer.
Dave Jackson here from your Clinton Save-A-Lot. We've dropped over 500 prices throughout the store. This is not a limited time event, but big savings every day. Find out how much you can save by clicking our icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Peterson Insurance Services in Clinton is a 2014 Pekin Insurance Illinois Agency of the Year. Jay Peterson here from Peterson Insurance. Find out about Pekin's auto, home, or life insurance by clicking on our icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
What is health? It's living your best life every single day. And Memorial is here to help you on your health journey. Whether it's prevention, rehabilitation, or anything in between, Memorial connects you to the region's best care. And now, our name will reflect that. Introducing Memorial Health, the new name for all the places where you receive our care. From our 5 community hospitals to our dozens of care facilities. They're all united under one name and a new symbol, But Memorial Health is more than just a name change. We have also simplified the way you access our care, including a streamlined website, a straightforward approach to primary and urgent care, as well as a growing network of expertise and technology. Now, wherever you are, Memorial Health makes living your best life easier than ever. Welcome to the new symbol of health. See all the changes online at memorial.health.
This is the morning show on 92.3 FM in DeWitt County, WHOW.
Once again, good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence, and Tony Kirkman is the executive director of the Piatt County Mental Health Center, my guest on the phone here for today. And Tony, as we catch up here for this morning, a couple of things are on your radar. The community needs assessment that'll take place in DeWitt and Piatt counties. What's this? What's it all about?
So here over in Piatt County, our local hospital, community Kirby Medical Center, every 3 years does a community health needs assessment that talks with lots of local providers to identify health determinants, needs, strengths that have happened in the last 3 years, and they put together a very robust plan that's available. And then I do know that the DeWitt County Mental Health Board is starting the process to look at a community needs assessment as well. And so both of those in both counties are starting to look at what are some of the deficiencies, what are some of the strengths in the community, and ways that we can continue to move both populations forward.
Sure. With the survey itself, Tony, what has come out of this in the past? How has the Piatt County Mental Health Center, in conjunction with, I'm sure, many other entities, how have you been able to, address those things? Can you speak to that?
Yeah, well, so I can speak to Piatt County. One of the things that we continue, and it will be in this next report too, I'm sure, is access to mental health. It's one of those things that in our county, we have one therapist for every 1,100 people, which is, according to the HRSA website, we are described as a mental health service deficient area. And so one of the things that we did to address that was we worked with local schools to put a school therapist in 3 of the local districts. We have secured a drug-free community grant, and we've expanded our youth prevention education in the schools, as well as trying to identify other ways that we can improve our access. Kirby Medical Center has added, I believe, 3 new therapists. So we're expanding capacity, but the need is so great.
In terms of who participates in this and how do you target the community for its participation, can you speak to those 2 things?
Yes, so there are numerous meetings that are with healthcare providers, social service providers, nonprofit groups, law enforcement, local community and county governance, obviously some of the executive leaders over at the hospitals, and then just other community members that serve under-resourced populations. Housing. I mean, it's a great mix of people that are engaged and have an attuned ear to the needs of both the larger communities and the more rural communities in both counties.
When does that come out, and when do you expect the results back?
So I believe that right now they're in the needs assessment. Then they'll compile the results to a smaller team that will lay out a strategic plan of how they plan to move forward to address those. And I would assume that end of summer would be when you'll see a lot of those. But again, some of the needs that are coming out are mental health, affordable housing, transportation seems to be a big need, and access to services seems to be, especially because we have so many rural areas, you'll find a lot of the social service supports sit in the county seats, and that's 15, 20, 30 miles away from somebody that is under-resourced and doesn't even have the resources to go to seek those services. So the common themes that we're seeing in both counties.
Sure. Well, Tony, I've got a few minutes left here still with you. Anything on the community needs assessment that we haven't touched on you want to put out there for us?
I would just say I want to commend both county leaders because we are not satisfied with the status quo. And I, from both John Warner and Kirby Medical Center, you've got leaders in both of those communities, the DeWitt County Mental Health Board, that are saying, yeah, we're doing a good job of meeting the needs as they are, but how can we get better? And that is a great group of professionals to be around that constantly want to see this community be supported and resourced to the best of the ability.
Sure. Well, Tony, how do folks learn more about the Piatt County Mental Health Center and getting just connected with you or someone there? Who do they call? Where do they go?
Sure. Yeah. Give me a call, 217-762-5371, or check us out online, PiattMHC.org.
That's Tony Kirkman, Executive Director of the Piatt County Mental Health Center, my guest on the phone here for the morning. We appreciate his time as always. Network news on the way on the WHOW Morning Show.